Hello, my beautiful Sagittarius. I need to talk to you about something that came up in today's reading. The energy around this is pretty intense. I was shuffling the deck this morning thinking about what Sagittarius energy needs to hear right now, and the cards practically jumped out of my hands. What I'm seeing here is not just about your journey forward, but about someone from your past, someone who caused you pain, someone who hurt you in ways that maybe you're still processing. The universe is showing me very clearly that this person is about to enter a really significant karmic cycle. I want to be gentle with this because I know that when we talk about people who have hurt us, there's a lot of complicated feelings that come up. Maybe you've moved on, maybe you're still healing, maybe you think about them sometimes and wonder if they ever understood what they did. The cards are telling me that whether you're thinking about them or not, the universe certainly hasn't forgotten what happened. So grab your coffee or tea, get comfortable, because we're going to spend some real time with these cards today. Before I pull the first card, I want you to take a moment and think about someone in your past who really hurt you. I'm not talking about minor disagreements or small misunderstandings. I'm talking about someone who caused you genuine pain, who betrayed your trust, who maybe took advantage of your generous Sagittarius nature, who used your optimism against you, who dimmed your light in some way. You might have multiple people who fit this description, and that's okay, but there's probably one person who immediately came to mind when I said that. The person you're thinking of right now, that's who this reading is about. The cards are going to show us what's happening in their energy field, what karmic lessons they're about to face, and why the universe is bringing this to your attention right now. Let me pull the first card and see what the universe wants to show us about this situation. I'm asking the cards to reveal the current energy surrounding this person who hurt you, what's happening in their life right now that they might not even fully understand yet. And the card I'm getting is the Page of Pentacles. Now this is interesting, and I need you to stay with me as I explain what this means in the context of someone who is about to face karmic consequences. The Page of Pentacles is typically a card about new beginnings in the material world, about learning, about taking those first steps toward building something stable. It's a young energy, sometimes naive, sometimes overly focused on the physical or material aspects of life. When this card appears in a reading about someone who hurt you, it's showing me that this person is currently in a phase where they think they're building something new, where they believe they're moving forward, where they might even feel like they've escaped the consequences of their past actions. They're probably focused on practical matters right now, maybe a new job, maybe new relationships, maybe new projects or goals. They might be posting on social media about their great new life. They might be telling people how well they're doing. They might genuinely believe that they've moved past everything and that their actions toward you don't matter anymore. But here's what the Page of Pentacles is really telling me in this context. They're still operating from that same immature energy that allowed them to hurt you in the first place. The Page is a student, a beginner, someone who hasn't learned the deeper lessons yet. This person is still approaching life from a superficial level, still focused on external success or appearance, still not understanding the energetic debt they've created. They're like a student who thinks they've graduated just because they showed up to a few classes, not realizing they haven't actually learned anything yet. The universe is showing me that their current sense of security or success is built on shaky ground because they never addressed the harm they caused. They never took responsibility. They never did the inner work that real growth requires. The Page of Pentacles in this position is also telling me something about their mindset right now. Pages in tarot are messengers and they carry news, but they're also known for being somewhat self-absorbed in their own journey. This person is so focused on what they're trying to build or achieve in their own life that they probably haven't given much thought to you at all. They might have convinced themselves that what happened between you wasn't that serious, or that enough time has passed that it doesn't matter, or that you've probably forgotten about it. There's an almost childish quality to this energy, like someone who breaks something and then just walks away, assuming someone else will clean it up. They're not losing sleep over what they did to you. They're not consumed with guilt or regret. They're just living their life, pursuing their goals, probably repeating similar patterns with new people because they never learned the lesson. Let me pull the second card because I want to see what specific karmic lesson is coming for this person, what area of their life is about to be shaken up by the consequences of their actions. I'm shuffling and asking the cards to show me what the universe has in store for them, what they cannot escape, no matter how much they're currently enjoying their Page of Pentacles energy. And the card that's coming through is the Page of Swords. Now this is really significant, and you need to understand why having two pages appear together in this reading is such a powerful message. In tarot, when you see multiple cards of the same rank, it amplifies that energy and often indicates a period of transition or instability. Two pages together suggest someone who is stuck in immature patterns, someone who keeps starting over but never really growing up, someone who approaches life with a beginner's mindset, not because they're humble and willing to learn, but because they keep making the same mistakes and having to start from scratch. The Page of Swords specifically represents mental energy, communication, thoughts, the way someone processes information and interacts with truth. This card is showing me that the karmic lesson this person is about to face is going to come through the realm of communication, truth, and mental clarity. Everything they've said, every lie they've told, every manipulation they've used, every truth they've twisted, it's all about to come back to them in a way they cannot avoid. The Page of Swords is a curious card because it can represent someone who is intelligent and sharp, but uses their mental abilities in immature or harmful ways. This is the person who is clever with words, who knows how to say the right thing to get what they want, who can talk their way out of situations, who uses information as a weapon. If the person who hurt you was manipulative, if they gaslighted you, if they lied to you or about you, if they spread rumors, if they used your words against you, if they made you doubt your own perception of reality, then the Page of Swords is showing me that this was their method. They hurt you through communication, through mental games, through the misuse of information. And now the universe is preparing to teach them about the power of truth and the consequences of dishonesty. The Page of Swords can also represent someone who is always on the defensive, always ready with an excuse, always preparing their next argument or justification. Even if they were confronted with what they did to you, they would have an explanation ready, a way to deflect blame, a reason why it wasn't really their fault. They're skilled at protecting themselves through words and mental gymnastics. But here's what the cards are showing me. That skill is about to become their weakness. The same tools they use to hurt you and others are going to turn against them. When I see the Page of Swords in a reading about karma, it tells me that truth is about to surface in a way that this person cannot spin or control. Pages are messengers, remember, and the Page of Swords brings messages about truth, information, clarity. This could manifest in so many ways. Maybe someone else they've hurt is going to speak up and others will finally see their pattern of behavior. Maybe their lies are going to be exposed in a public or embarrassing way. Maybe they're going to find themselves in a situation where their usual verbal manipulation doesn't work and they're forced to face the reality of who they are. Maybe the truth they've been running from is going to catch up to them through legal matters, through written communication, through evidence they thought was buried. The Page of Swords is swift and sharp, and when karmic truth comes through this energy, it cuts deep and it cuts clean. There's no ambiguity, no gray area, no room for interpretation. The truth simply is, and it will be revealed. What's particularly powerful about this card in this position is that it suggests this person has been living in a kind of mental delusion, a carefully constructed narrative where they're the hero or the victim of their own story, where they've justified their actions so thoroughly that they actually believe their own version of events. The Page of Swords arriving as their karmic lesson means that narrative is about to shatter. Let me pull the third card because I want to see what specific circumstances or challenges they're going to face as this karmic cycle unfolds. I'm asking the cards to show me the tangible reality of what's coming for them, how this is going to manifest in their actual life. And the card I'm pulling is the Five of Pentacles. Oh, Sagittarius, this is significant. This is really significant. The Five of Pentacles is one of the most difficult cards in the Pentacles suit. It represents hardship, loss, being left out in the cold, financial or material struggles, feeling abandoned, experiencing poverty or lack, being rejected, losing security. After seeing them in that Page of Pentacles energy, thinking they're building something stable, thinking they're successful and moving forward, the universe is showing me that they're about to experience a very real, very tangible loss. The Five of Pentacles is not a gentle lesson. It's not a subtle hint from the universe. It's a full-blown crisis that forces you to confront your own vulnerability and your own choices. When someone who has hurt others through selfishness, through taking advantage, through using people for their own gain, when that person meets the Five of Pentacles, it's the universe literally removing the resources and support they took for granted. It's karma saying, okay, you used people, you took without giving, you benefited at others' expense, now let's see how you handle having nothing. The Five of Pentacles classically shows two figures walking through snow past a church with lit windows. They're injured, struggling, cold, and they're walking past a place that could offer them shelter and help, but they're not going inside. There are multiple layers of meaning here that apply to this person's karmic journey. First, the material loss itself. This person is going to experience some form of financial difficulty or loss of material security. This could be losing a job, having a business fail, experiencing unexpected expenses that drain their resources, losing a relationship that was providing financial or material stability, or just generally finding themselves in a situation where the money or resources they counted on are no longer available. Given that the Page of Pentacles showed them focused on building material success, the Five of Pentacles is showing me that what they're building is going to crumble or be taken away. And here's the karmic justice in this. If they hurt you by taking something from you, whether that was money, time, opportunities, or emotional resources, they're about to understand what it feels like to be depleted. If they used you for what you could provide them and then discarded you, they're about to understand what it feels like to be in need with nowhere to turn. The universe is very precise in its lessons. The pain we cause tends to circle back to us in forms we can finally understand. But the Five of Pentacles is not just about material loss. It's also about social isolation and the feeling of being cast out or rejected. Notice in the traditional imagery that there's help available. There's a warm church right there, but the figures are outside in the cold. This tells me that part of their karmic lesson is going to involve experiencing rejection or abandonment from their social circle or support system. The same people they charmed with their Page of Swords energy, the same people who currently think they're great because they don't know the truth, those people are going to see them differently. When truth comes to light, when patterns are revealed, when someone shows their true character in a moment of crisis, people tend to step back. The Five of Pentacles suggests that this person is going to find themselves alone in a way they didn't expect, reaching out for support and finding that people aren't as willing to help as they thought. Again, there's perfect karmic symmetry here. If they hurt you and then had people around them who supported their narrative, who maybe even turned against you or didn't believe you, those same social dynamics are going to reverse. Let me pull the fourth card because I want to understand who or what is going to be the agent of this karma. The universe works through people and circumstances to deliver its lessons. I'm asking the cards to show me what energy is going to bring about this reckoning, What force or influence is going to trigger the chain of events that leads to their Five of Pentacles experience? And the card I'm getting is the King of Swords. This is powerful, Sagittarius. This is really powerful. The King of Swords represents the ultimate authority in the realm of truth, justice, clarity, and intellectual integrity. This is the judge, the lawyer, the person who sees through lies, the energy that cuts through confusion with absolute precision. When the King of Swords appears as the agent of karma, it means that truth and justice are not going to be subtle or negotiable. This is not going to be a situation where the person who hurt you faces some vague consequence that might or might not be related to their actions. No. This is going to be direct, clear, undeniable. The King of Swords is showing me that there is someone or something coming into this person's life that represents absolute clarity and accountability. This could be a literal authority figure like a boss, a legal representative, a judge, someone in a position of power who is going to see through their manipulation and hold them accountable. Or this could be a situation where truth becomes so obvious that it functions like a judge, where evidence or information comes to light in such a clear way that there's no talking their way out of it. The King of Swords is the mature, masculine energy of the suit of air and intellect. Remember, we saw the Page of Swords earlier, showing how this person uses communication and mental energy in immature, manipulative ways. The King of Swords is the fully developed version of that energy, the one who has learned to use intelligence and communication with integrity, wisdom, and fairness. The appearance of the King of Swords in this karmic reading tells me that this person is going to come face to face with someone who has the very same intellectual gifts they have, the same sharp mind and clear communication skills, but who uses those gifts in service of truth rather than deception. It's like the universe is saying, you think you're so clever, you think you can out-talk and out-manipulate everyone. But let me show you what that energy looks like when it's wielded by someone with actual integrity. The King of Swords doesn't play games. He doesn't get emotional. He doesn't get distracted by charm or manipulation tactics. He simply looks at the facts, applies logic and fairness, and makes a decision based on truth. And when someone who has been operating in deception and manipulation meets the King of Swords, it's game over. All their tactics suddenly don't work. All their usual moves fall flat. They're completely exposed and they can't charm or talk their way out of it. The King of Swords can also represent a moment of absolute mental clarity, a breakthrough in understanding that changes everything. For this person who hurt you, meeting the King of Swords energy might mean having a moment where they suddenly see themselves clearly, where the cognitive dissonance and the self-justification falls away, and they're forced to confront the truth of who they've been and what they've done. This could be triggered by something external, like someone confronting them with evidence or calling them out in a way they can't dismiss. Or it could be an internal moment of reckoning where something happens that makes them unable to lie to themselves anymore. The King of Swords brings brutal honesty, not mean-spirited or vengeful, just absolutely clear-eyed and truthful. And sometimes the most painful thing we can face is the truth about ourselves, especially when we've spent years building a false narrative. Imagine spending all this time thinking you're a good person, thinking you're justified in your actions, thinking that anyone who has a problem with you is the problem, and then suddenly you have a moment of clarity where you see yourself as you really are, where you understand the harm you've caused, where you can't pretend anymore. That's the King of Swords medicine. It's harsh, but it's necessary. It's the only thing that breaks through when someone has become so defended and so invested in their own lies. The King of Swords in this position is also telling me that the person who hurt you is going to face consequences that are official, structured, and unavoidable. This is not just social karma, where people gossip about them or they lose friendships. This is institutional karma. This could involve legal matters, workplace disciplinary action, official complaints, documented evidence, formal processes. The King of Swords operates through systems and structures. if what they did to you or to others involved any kind of breach of trust, violation of rules, legal issues, or professional misconduct, the King of Swords is saying that the official channels are going to catch up with them. Maybe someone is going to file a complaint. Maybe an investigation is going to uncover a pattern of behavior. Maybe their actions are going to be reviewed by people in authority who have the power to actually impose consequences. Let me pull the 5th card because I want to see what the aftermath looks like. After the material loss of the 5 of Pentacles, after the reckoning with truth that the King of Swords brings, what state is this person going to be in? I'm asking the cards to show me where they land emotionally and mentally as they process these karmic lessons. And the card coming through is the 2 of Swords. This is fascinating, Sagittarius. The 2 of Swords represents a state of being stuck, being in denial, refusing to see or accept reality, being at a crossroads but unable or unwilling to make a choice, mental stalemate, avoidance. This card shows a blindfolded figure holding 2 swords crossed in front of their heart, defensive and closed off, refusing to look at the truth that's right in front of them. What the universe is showing me with this card is that even after everything we've talked about, even after the material losses and the confrontation with truth, this person is likely going to initially respond by shutting down, by refusing to accept responsibility, by staying in denial about what's really happening and why. The 2 of Swords is that moment where you have a choice to either face the truth and learn and grow, or to stay defended and blind and stuck. And the cards are showing me that this person's first instinct is going to be to choose defense over growth. The 2 of Swords is a card of self-imposed blindness. Notice that the figure is blindfolded. They're not being prevented from seeing by external forces. They're choosing not to look. This is someone who, even when presented with clear evidence of their own harmful behavior, even when facing obvious consequences of their actions, still tries to tell themselves a different story. They might blame others for their circumstances. They might tell themselves they're the victim. They might convince themselves that everyone is being unfair to them, or that they're being singled out. The 2 of Swords represents the mental gymnastics people do to avoid taking responsibility. It's cognitive dissonance at its peak. They're holding 2 contradictory ideas at once: the truth of what they've done and the image they have of themselves as a good person. And instead of integrating those 2 things and accepting that they made mistakes, they just freeze. They can't move forward because that would mean accepting the truth, and they can't go back because the consequences are already unfolding. So they're just stuck in this uncomfortable middle space, refusing to choose, refusing to see, refusing to grow. And honestly, Sagittarius, this might be the most frustrating part of their karmic journey for you to think about. Because what the 2 of Swords is telling me is that this person might go through all this hardship and still not get it. They might face loss and consequences and confrontation with truth and still choose to stay blind. But here's what you need to understand about the 2 of Swords in this position. Being stuck is its own form of suffering. Being unable to move forward, being frozen in denial, being cut off from your own truth and growth, that's a prison. And it's often a more painful prison than just accepting what's real and choosing to change. The person who hurt you is going to be trapped in the 2 of Swords for a while, and that stuckness is going to eat at them. They'll be unable to truly enjoy anything because they're using so much mental and emotional energy to maintain their denial. They'll struggle in relationships because the same defensive patterns that the 2 of Swords represents will keep them isolated and unable to truly connect. They'll keep repeating the same mistakes because the 2 of Swords refuses to learn from experience. Let me pull the 6th and final card because I want to see what the ultimate outcome of this karmic cycle is. Where does this person end up after all of this? What does the universe want them to understand? And what does this mean for your own journey forward, Sagittarius? I'm shuffling and asking for that final piece of the puzzle, that last insight that brings this whole reading together. And the card that's coming through is the 9 of Swords. Oh, Sagittarius, this is heavy, but it's also deeply meaningful. The Nine of Swords is the card of anxiety, guilt, mental anguish, sleepless nights, being haunted by your own thoughts, nightmares, deep regret, the weight of conscience. This card shows a figure sitting up in bed in the middle of the night with their head in their hands, unable to rest, tormented by their own mind. The Nine of Swords is telling me that ultimately, despite the Two of Swords denial we just talked about, the truth is going to break through. The mental anguish they're trying to avoid is going to catch up with them. The guilt they've been repressing is going to surface. The weight of what they've done is going to keep them up at night. This is the card of conscience finally speaking loud enough that it cannot be ignored, and it's speaking in the language of anxiety and regret and mental torment. The Nine of Swords represents that 3 a.m. awakening where you suddenly see your life clearly, and you're horrified by what you see. It's that moment when all your defenses are down, when you're alone with yourself and there's no one to perform for, no narrative to maintain, no distraction available, and you have to face who you've been and what you've done. For this person who hurt you, the Nine of Swords is showing me that they're going to reach a point where the mental and emotional weight of their actions becomes unbearable. All the harm they've caused, all the people they've hurt, all the lies they've told, all the ways they've betrayed trust and used people, it's going to pile up in their consciousness, and they're going to feel the full weight of it. And Sagittarius, I want you to understand something important about this card. This is not about you wishing pain on them or celebrating their suffering. This is about the natural process of karma reaching its completion. The Nine of Swords is actually a necessary part of real transformation. You cannot heal what you don't feel. You cannot change what you don't acknowledge. This person has been avoiding feeling the weight of their actions for so long that the only way they can possibly grow is to finally feel it all at once. And that feeling is going to be overwhelming. Hence the Nine of Swords energy of mental anguish and sleepless nights. The Nine of Swords is particularly connected to guilt and regret. Those 9 swords hanging on the wall behind the figure in the traditional card imagery represent all the thoughts and worries and regrets that are stabbing at their peace of mind. For someone who has hurt others without remorse, the Nine of Swords is the moment when remorse finally breaks through. They're going to think about you. They're going to think about what they did. They're going to replay conversations and moments in their mind and see them differently than they did before. They're going to understand finally the pain they caused. And that understanding is going to hurt. It should hurt. That's how conscience works. That's how we learn to be better. The Nine of Swords is showing me that this person is going to go through a period of genuine mental and emotional suffering as they process the reality of who they've been. They might experience actual anxiety or depression. They might have trouble sleeping. They might be plagued by memories and regrets. They might feel like they're drowning in negative thoughts about themselves. And while that sounds harsh, it's actually the most hopeful card in this entire reading because it means they're finally feeling something real, finally breaking through the denial, finally being affected by their own conscience. The Nine of Swords also suggests that this person is going to become aware of how others see them. Part of their mental anguish is going to come from recognizing that people know what they're really like, that their reputation has been damaged, that they can't control the narrative anymore. They're going to worry about what people are saying about them. They're going to be anxious about being exposed or called out. They're going to lose sleep over the fear that more people will find out the truth about their character. The Nine of Swords is that hypervigilance and paranoia that comes from knowing you've done wrong and waiting for the other shoe to drop. Thank you for letting me share this reading with you today. I know it was intense and we went deep, but I think the universe really wanted you to understand the full picture of what's happening energetically with this situation. If this reading resonated with you, if you felt seen and validated by what the cards revealed, take a moment to honor that. Your feelings about what happened to you are valid. Your sense that something was wrong and unjust is accurate. And your healing journey matters. Keep doing the work. Keep choosing yourself. keep believing in the goodness of the universe even when you've experienced darkness from people.